Meera ma'am is an alumnus of IIT Madras and is currently affiliated to the University of Florida. Over to you, ma'am.
So I will share screen and somebody let me know if you cannot see my screen. Okay, so yeah, I'm going here. Share. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, I'm going to go to the Steward IITM page. It's all very much under construction. Steward stands for STEM Women Scholars and Researchers Development. We were quite proud of this acronym. And we have been active, as Indumati says, now for, I would say, about 6 or 7 months. It was kicked off because I would say from the energy of grief of the passing of one of our friends, alumni. This was a photo taken round about the mid to late 80s in Sarayu Hostel, which is the IITM Women's Hostel. I think it's still called Sarayu. And a whole bunch of her friends. She died, Malati Veeraraghavan is her name. She was a professor at the University of Virginia, electrical engineering. She died in June of 2020. And we set up with the help of many friends and family and the IITM 84 BTech group, and several of who are administrators at IITM, and they all helped us. We set up a scholarship for PhD scholars after much thinking about which is the group of people most likely to gain. So these are women PhD scholars, and also for women undergrads a prize. So we set up 2 of these prizes. So as I said, this whole thing was born out of the energy of grief, but the actual Steward program was born of the energy of sisterhood. So when we essentially met with Malati about few months before she died, we call ourselves mommies. So we turned out that all 4 of us from the IITM BTech, in fact, there were 5 of us, 2 have passed away now. We all went on to become scientists. And here's the picture from how we met shortly before Malati died. She's the one at the bottom left. And we, among long walks and arguments, as we always do, we decided, she said, now that we are old mommies, having been through what we have been through, what would we tell the young Sarayuite? Sarayu is the hostel, for those of you who don't know, now. So the Steward program was essentially born out of that thought. And we had amazing reaction from, it was almost like we had caught a very wild wind that already existed. So there was a lot of energy and help from many people at IITM, and Indu from the Women's Forum managed to round up a whole bunch of women faculty who had felt that something like this was needed, and women PhD scholars, and of course there were a bunch of women alumni, and a whole bunch of well-wishers who are themselves not scientists but want things to go well. So right now we have about 16 women faculty actively participating. There are several others who participate on and off. Another several women's alumni, about 19 to 20, who are participating. And then senior PhD scholars, by which these are scholars who are themselves mentoring their juniors as part of this program. There are about 17 of them, and another 35 or so junior PhD scholars. So this is the origins of the program. So if I wanted to say just a couple more words about the program as how it was conceived. And let me see if I can put this in present mode. So it's a little bit bigger and you don't see the thumbnails. Can you see my screen in present mode?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the motivation was that this particular group of women, PhD scholars, were typically kind of neglected from other initiatives and other activities of IITM, by certainly not by design, but that's how it has happened, were probably the best kind of target for us. And so they are, in a way, the banner bearers for the government of India's push towards research and innovation powerhouse status, which India should rightfully have. And 25% of India's population right now is approximately women under 35. And it seemed like it was a colossal waste to make them claw over needless obstacles on their path. And so the goal was to sort of try to see if we can seed or begin some kind of a movement to help them sort of succeed and nurture their potential. Okay, so the goals, blah, blah, blah. The goals are basically to eventually to ensure that for all of this, we're going to need a lot of institutional help. But the goal, maybe I should have shared the very first slide. We think of ourselves as an independent grassroots support and pressure group. So to sort of pressure the institutions and all the well-meaning people within the institutions who could gain from some external pressure to ensure that sufficiently many women PhD graduates continue in a normal progression through their career, have sort of normal levels of publication citations and so on and so forth, whether they go into academia or whether they go into other avenues for scientists, and work towards the health and progress of the discipline as a whole, their discipline, whatever it happens to be. That's what women do. So, and also have, as part of it, have women mentors and mentees. Okay. The activities that we have are basically of two types. One is to open up avenues and opportunities within the current system, and then another is to sort of resist or that's the next slide. I'll talk about it next. So essentially, the idea is to ensure that mentees are matched up where any mentee, any PhD scholar, or anyone interested in becoming a scientist, any woman, will basically have a mentor available who has already been through a similar path, if not exactly the same path. History can be different, and what people face can be different. And to develop mentoring principles and forums, and spread it around to other institutions wherever who might be going through something similar. Give a supportive network. Find a way to transmit whatever we have gone through to them. And finally, for those who want to climb the existing power structure, to promote and help them climb it and acquire the necessary resources. And perhaps closer to my heart is sort of seeing that the existing power structure has many problems, and how to potentially try to change some of these things. And there are many, it's not just us, many different people have observed the sort of institutionalized bias, systemic bias, implicit bias, cultural, and so forth, inequities that are holding women back. And not least of it is the caregiving responsibilities that women shoulder the maximum, overwhelming responsibility for, to body placement and so on and so forth. And of course, just the entrenched meritocratic power structures that are quote unquote meritocratic and just women find difficult to ascend. So these are the very brief description of what we have been doing. We, as I said, we meet about once every month or so, and we have had several activities going on. You can browse the site, you can see some activities. Here's our mission statement that says that we strive to ensure every woman will reach her fullest potential, recognizes that women face implicit and explicit bias and obstructions that may unduly deter their progress, and aims to provide every woman scholar and junior woman faculty member with a mentor who can provide personalized support, encouragement, and guidance. As I said, collective activities support opening up avenues within the current system, and resistance working towards reforming the system, and the mentorship program, which is sort of the concrete thing and has reached, of course, we collaborate heavily with IITM Alumni Association and Women's Forum, spearheaded, sort of really shouldered by Indu. So that's all I have to say. And I'm looking forward to Professor Godbole's talk, so I won't continue any further.